St. John's Red Storm fell to the number 10 Arkansas Razorbacks 75-66 in the round of 32. With 4:56 left in the game, Rick Pitino subbed out R.J. Lewis Jr. in favor of Ruben Prey after Lewis made 2 free throws to cut the deficit to 2 points. Lewis did not record a single minute for the rest of the game. Do you agree or disagree with Pitino's decision to bench Lewis?
I completely agree with it. Completely agree. Because he, at that point, was being a deficit to your team. He was being a minus factor. If we could take a look at the plus minus or whatever, we have to realize that most of the minus came at the end of the game when they couldn't hit a shot anyway. So we have to realize that that's why. When he was off the field, of course, he would be a minus 11 or whatever the case may be, because at the end of the game, they lost by, 9? And they couldn't hit a shot by the end of the game. So I have no problem with that, because it was 4:56, they had 62 points. That means basically the last 5 minutes of the game, they put up 4 points. I don't think that has anything to do with R.J. Lewis because he barely hit a shot in this game anyway. And I hope that we have we have it here. So this was the play that probably got him benched. There was a double team. Zuby Ejiofor breaks free of the double team in a simple pick and roll. R.J. Lewis decides to drive and he shoots a very ugly shot. But you just got to get it in between the two defenders there, pass it to Zuby Ejiofor. The center was already playing with 4 fouls, so he might have fouled out. And then what happened on the ensuing possession after this bad shot? Well, let's take a look at it here. A defensive breakdown by Aaron Scott who completely loses the offensive player. Completely loses him. Way too focused on the guy in front of him. Meanwhile, one of the St. John's guys who was that was Zuby Ejiofor. He was right there, so the switch didn't make sense. Aaron Scott fell asleep. And then what happened after that? Well, Zuby Ejiofor, after RJ Lewis got fouled, had to shake him to focus. I don't know if that's leadership. I don't know if that's bad. But the fact that after he got fouled, R.J. Lewis was completely out of it, and Zuby had to shake him to get focused, that is not a good look. So, yeah, we could complain about his plus-minus. We could talk about that. We could say you could better put your best players out there, ride or die with your best players. But at that point in the game, it was a 2-point game. R.J. Lewis just made 2 free throws after getting fouled. But at that point, he was shooting 3 of 17. He was 0 for 3. He was missing layups. St. John's was 8 of 25 on layups. Screw jump shots. 8 of 25 on layups. You had to make some sort of change. The biggest player was coming up small in the biggest moment. Zuby Ejiofor was the biggest player for St. John's. The only player for St. John's that was in double digits. And what the St. John's Red Storm didn't do was feed him in the post. The centers were in serious foul trouble basically the entire game. And in that double team, R.J. Lewis, because the Rick Pitino's big thing is play for the name on the front and the back. The name on the back will prosper. That's what he said in his Vice in the Vice documentary that they have going on this season. Well, that play right there, R.J. Lewis was trying to get himself out of trouble. He was trying to end his cold streak instead of riding it. It's a 2-point game at that point, 4-point game at that point, and instead of making the smart play, R.J. Lewis took the selfish play and took a 2v1 matchup, a double-team matchup, and took maybe the ugliest shot of the entire game. Like, that's being selfish. Rick Pitino obviously hates that. He's a big team guy. And this, statistically, out of every single NCAA tournament game Rick Pitino has ever been a part of, this was the worst 3-point shooting team that he's ever had. This game right here, they shot 9.1%. Rick Pitino, I believe, has been part of 60 NCAA tournament games. This ranked dead last in it. So this was a bad shooting day, bad shooting night. Arkansas played great defense down low, but I have zero issue with Rick Pitino benching R.J. Lewis. At that point, he was a detriment to your team. He wasn't really helping you out when it mattered most. 3 of 17, and he said in the press conference he shot 3 of 17, and you know why I had to bench him and whatnot. To me, it's blatantly obvious. I understand people have an issue with it, saying you got to put your best player out there and ride or die with him. Rick Pitino decided to switch things up. I have no issue with that when you're trying to find answers. I mean, the answer was kind of there. The center that was currently out there, I do. He had 4 fouls, and you don't feed Zuby Ejiofor down low. I have an issue with that. So R.J. Lewis getting benched, no issue with it whatsoever. I think it's a smart coaching move. What you could argue is that maybe you talk to him during a timeout, you try to get his head straight, although Zuby Ejiofor tried, and you put him out there when the game is still relatively close. You could have done that, but at that time, 5 minutes left in the game, it's a 2-point game. I have no issue whatsoever with Rick Pitino benching R.J. Lewis.
Well, I disagree with you. I think it was a mistake to bench R.J. Lewis. He just scored 2 free throws to bring St. John's within 2 points. With 4:56 to go in the game. It's a new game, basically. A new game and plenty of time. The team was +5 with R.J. Lewis on the floor. They were -14 with him off the court. Another good reason for keeping him in there. After he was benched, Arkansas outscored them 11-4 to win 75-66. And, you can argue he was playing terrible. Yeah, everybody was. None of them were playing well except Ejiofor. And Ejiofor got all his points down low. I put it on Rick Pitino. Why didn't you keep going down low? You could have fouled those big guys out. They fouled the biggest guy out early in the second half. The other two guys both had, I think, 4 fouls on them. You could have got them out of there too, and they didn't. They were shooting the 3-point play. They didn't even have to shoot 3-pointers. There was no reason to. They were only down by 2 points. They should have kept going down low. When asked, Pitino had some poor answers, I thought. He said, Lewis played 30 minutes. Well, he'd been playing the 5 minutes that were most important in this game when they were only down 2 points. He was not in there. He was sitting on the bench. So what? As I say, the most important 5 minutes of the game remained, and you're only down 2 points. One of your best players available to continue playing, who's a very good defensive player as well. And who did they put in? Ruben Prey?
Yes.
The guy hardly played the whole season. He may be great, I don't know, but he's only a freshman. The guy was in over his head. That was too big a spot to put him in. You should have left RJ in there. They were only down 2 points. So the 3-pointers were not that, I don't think they were that important at that point. Driving the lane, drawing the fouls, or dishing to Ejiofor would have been a good strategy, as all of the Arkansas big men were in foul trouble at that point. Instead, he went to Prey and Lalapopoulos, or whatever his name is. What's that guy's name? Leotopoulos, who were way in over their heads and looked out of it, lost out there. What's his name? Lalapopoulos. Leotopoulos. He scored 3 points the whole game. He played big minutes, too, because another guy who didn't show up, Kadari Richmond, was sitting on the bench with fouls the whole game. And Ruben Prey, I think he scored 2 points, too. What are those guys doing in there in the final 4 minutes or 5 minutes of the game when you're only down 2? You still had the chance to win the game. Asked if there was one play that kept Lewis on the bench, Pitino referenced his shooting percentage, 3 for 17 and 0 for 3 from 3. Lewis averaged 18.5 points per game during the year. Pitino said they lost because they didn't share the ball enough on offense. And you showed a play there with RJ. He should have dished it to Ejiofor there. Instead, he tried to take the shot himself. Maybe that was the one that got him benched. I don't know. We did not move the basketball enough, and that led to shooting a low percentage. They needed to have a high number of assists to win, and they didn't get it in this game. Also, the matchups were tough, as Arkansas was bigger. But St. John's managed to get, as I mentioned several times here, get them in foul trouble, but didn't go down low with Ejiofor to try to foul him out. That guy's a beast. I mean, he was the strongest player on the floor, and they didn't go to him. They should have gone to him more. I like Rick Pitino a lot, but I thought it was a poor coaching job all around for him. His team was very tight. He should have told them to relax and play loose. They were playing with house money because at the beginning of the season, no one expected them to be the 2 seed to make the second round of the playoffs, and no one expected them to be there. So they were playing with house money. They should have been relaxed. They played their game and been relaxed. I think they would have beaten Arkansas pretty easily. He should have tried to go down low, more with Ejiofor, who had 23 points. It made sense because they weren't shooting the outside shot well, and the double benefit was of drawing the fouls on the bigs to get them out of the game with plenty of time left. They did it with the one really big guy, but the other guy who was good there, he had 4 fouls pretty early on in the second half, and they didn't get him out there. I thought benching Lewis with 5 minutes to go and only down 2 points, he's one of the most experienced players on the team. He was going to going to the basket and drawing fouls, and he was making his free throws. He might not have been making his jump shot, but he was making his free throws. He didn't miss any of them. Being only down 2 points, and the Bigs in foul trouble for Arkansas, they could have continued to go down low, have the easy baskets, and draw the fouls. For his part, I thought Lewis took the high road. He said he wasn't a positive leader during the game. He said he felt like the team didn't do anything really. It sucks that the way we lost. I let my teammates down. And I think the reason that Rick Pitino benched him is to send him a message that he let the other players down and that he was disappointed in him. And you know what? Maybe in November, I mean, there was a game when R.J. Lewis only had 5 baskets out of, 20 or so against, I think it was Villanova. Sit him down then. Give him a teaching moment. I'd say it's a teaching moment. That makes a lot of sense. But not an NCAA second-round game. You lose, you're out. That's it. You go home. You're going to teach him something there? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what Rick Pitino was thinking. I think he made a mistake.
Even if it wasn't a teaching decision, what about just a coaching decision? He shot 3 of 17. He was 0 for 3 from 3.
No, but in the NBA, do you think you'd take Steph Curry out? If you were down 2 with 5 minutes to go in the game, and Steph Curry had been 1 for 20 in the game, do you think that Steve Kerr would take him out of the game?
Here's the difference.
No way. No way. He's the best player on the team.
Correct.
He's the best player. He's going to be in there. He'll shoot his way out of it. Great players
How
too.
many shots you want him to take? He took 17.
No, but
How
you
many
know what?
more?
He didn't even have to. He could drive the lane, dish it.
But he didn't.
Edge it for.
Hold on.
Maybe they should have told him, go ahead and do.
Perfect opportunity right here. Zuby Ejiofor is wide open in the middle of the paint.
Yeah.
And instead he drives into a double team and takes that. So if you talk about he could have drove and dished, well, pick and roll, he's open, and then look at the very bottom of the screen. If Zuby Ejiofor doesn't take the low post shot, you could. I mean, I don't think so, but if he doesn't take the low post shot, look at Aaron Scott at the bottom of the screen. He's wide open for a 3.
Yeah.
He's the only. There were 2 people that made a 3 in this game.
Those are mistakes, but you know what? That's a coaching moment. You tell him, look, we need to go down low to Edgy.
You don't,
right?
you don't think he was doing that whole game?
And you know what? If you get down low and Edgy hasn't got the shot, he'll pop it out for a short jumper, not a 3. And they're only down 2 points. You put in Ruben Prey. He's a freshman. He had hardly played at all season. You put in the other guy, the Italian, the Greece guy. He hardly played at all too. Those guys, not fair to them. Actually, it really was not fair to them. What did he think was going to happen? The game was lost when they made that decision. That was it. They were outscored 11-4 after that. It didn't have to happen. They could have won the game.
They
still could have won the game.
They very well could have, but we don't know what R.J. Lewis would have done at that point. Because at that point, he was essentially a statue. He wasn't doing anything offensively.
He was drawing fouls and making foul shots. That's better than anybody else was doing.
That's not true. Zuby Ejiofor scored, 21 points?
Okay, well, then dish it to Edgy. Drive down and give it to him.
That's the thing.
He didn't, but they could have told him to do it. They could have had a timeout, said, look, when it got cold, we're not shooting from outside. Doesn't matter. We're only down 2 points.
And you think R.J. Lewis is the only player that could do that?
We're only down 2 points.
And you think R.J. Lewis is the only person who could have done that?
Keep putting it to them. They're in foul trouble.
No, I
get
your point. I get your point 100%. Okay. But you think R.J. Lewis is the only player that could do that? And by the way, Rick Pitino said in his right before the half, he was doing that interview with the reporter. He said to do that, but they never did.
Well,
and at that point,
they're poorly coached.
Or R.J. Lewis decided to shoot into double team. Then Aaron Scott fell asleep on defense, and then as soon as R.J. Lewis got fouled, and before he made the 2 free throws, that's what Ejiofor had to do: shake him to focus because he was talking to the defender. His mind was out of it. You can't do that at that point.
I think it was the wrong thing for Ejiofor to do that on the court.
Why?
I think that
what are you going to do it to him?
Message.
He's in the middle of doing it.
It's the coach's responsibility to talk to a player about how he's playing.
I completely disagree.
Not another player. And you know what? The Arkansas
Brady
players,
would do that. LeBron would do
the
that.
Arkansas players fed off of that. They said we could see how frustrated we were making them. Look what Ejiofor did to R.J. Lewis. We noticed that.
So then
they talked about it.
Okay, then what? Okay, Tom Brady would do that. LeBron would do that. Anyone who is a leader on your team would do that. It's not only the coach.
It over on the bench, not out on
You're
the
in the
floor.
middle of a game, and R.J. Lewis is doing it right now. You need him to focus
Rick
to shoot
Pitino
free throws.
used up all his timeouts. He only had 1 left with about 5 minutes to go, too. He should have managed his timeouts better, too.
We only had, 4 in the game, 5 in the entire game? And at that point, you need to... Why do you think he used the timeouts? They kept letting the lead slip.
Yeah, well, I give him a lot of credit for bringing him back to get him within 2 points when they played so poorly all the way there. But when they had the chance to do it, I think he made the mistake by sitting RJ down.
I guarantee you, Rick Pitino
Everybody
told the
thinks it's a mistake, Nate. I listened to Stephen A. Stephen A. said, that's crazy. You should never have done that. Everybody I listened to said, you should have left him in here. He's your best player.
But he wasn't playing his best at that point.
NBA team would do that. You shoot your way out of it. Your best player's out on the floor when you're only down 2 points. You don't go with people that haven't played hardly at all season in the biggest game of the year in an NCAA double second round game. It's crazy.
Well,
I know what he was thinking about.
The difference is in an NBA game, in the biggest moments, it's a 7-game series. This is a one and done. You have to figure out
a one and done. In an elimination game, do you think Steph Curry's going to be sad because with 5 minutes to go and you're down 2 points? No way. Absolutely not.
He's going to get sad at some point in the game.
Oh, but not at the end. Not at the end. I mean, the argument, well, he played 30 minutes. Yeah, well,
30 out of 40.
He didn't play the most. He was sitting on the bench in the most important 5 minutes of the game when you had a chance to win.
If R.J. Lewis shot 5 of 17.
You don't think he could play 35 minutes? The kid is in excellent shape. He's only 21 years old.
Yeah.
Come on. The conditioning, the fatigue had nothing to do with it.
I agree. I'm not saying it did.
It was an emotional thing. It was to to throw him under the bus. As a big main reason they lost the game, and it wasn't the main reason they lost. It was Rick Pitino's coaching at the end that made him lose the game.
No,
not R.J. Lewis. They could have won that game,
but they didn't.
They didn't because they had players in there that had no business being in there. It wasn't fair to them to put them in there. They'd never been they hardly played all year, and here they are at the end of an NCAA second round game against Arkansas. Only down by 2 points, and it counting on them to hit some key some key baskets to win the game. It ain't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen.
So R.J. Lewis is out there, okay? 3 of 17 is what percentage? Let me look that up. 3 of 17.
I don't care about that.
You
I don't care about
he shot
17.6%.
You should.
It didn't matter. You're only down 2 points in 5 minutes to go.
R.J. Lewis will be out there to do what?
R.J. Lewis to
do what?
To play great defense and to drive the ball to the hoop. Forget the 3-point shot. You didn't even need to. You didn't even need
That's what
all you have to do is a coach to tell him, do it.
He did.
Do it.
He did several times. You think Rick Pitino with 5 minutes left finally told his guys, hey guys, maybe try to drive the basketball. You think that was the only time you think he went on the sideline and told Ruben Price, hey, we're going to put you in for R.J. Lewis. And what I want you to do is a brilliant idea. Drive the basketball. You think that was the first time Rick Pitino said anything, or do you think that it was from the get-go to drive the basketball? Because he knows what he said all year. They are not a good shooting team. So this is not an anomaly to be like, okay, drive the basketball. Rick Pitino said that. They weren't doing it. How is that a coaching thing when you tell a player, hey, drive the basketball, and then early in the game where you couldn't make a layup for the life of you, it kills, it absolutely destroys, obliterates any sort of motivation, it gets in your head.
Well,
that's not a coaching thing. That is just someone who doesn't have the confidence to shoot.
What?
They went the driving also didn't work. They were 8 of 25 on layups.
No, but Nate, at the end, those guys were in foul trouble. Those guys are in big foul trouble. They should have kept going to it, and they had Edgy down there. He's a beast.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
He can muscle any of those guys down there. And you know what? If they triple teamed him, just dish it out for about a 7 or 8 foot jump shot, bank shot. You can't miss that.
But they were. Yeah. That's the thing. They were.
No, but they
were missing open layups. We saw Kadari Richmond drive and hit the bottom of the rim on a layup. We saw R.J. Lewis in a wide open layup hit the bottom of the rim. Zuby Ejiofor, I think, and a couple plays later.
My point. Aside from Edgy, they were all playing crappy. They didn't. They
so why
all
does it matter who's out there?
So why put it all on RJ?
I'm not putting it all on RJ. All I'm saying is that decision didn't make any sense.
Rick Pitino did. He sat him down.
Because I guarantee you, he looked at RJ Lewis as the leader of the team, and in the biggest moment, he wasn't a leader. He was someone who's being a detriment to the team. That's a coaching example. Because guess what? How are you going to deal with some hard coaching?
Okay, well then, you know what? When they took him out, okay, that's fine. Take him out for 2 minutes. and talk to him and
that's
say,
what I would agree
and
with you on.
take
Bring
him out
back
and bring him
eventually.
back. But don't let him sit there the whole 5 minutes and watch the game dribble away. I mean, they lost the game.
If R.J. Lewis shot 5
they
of
had
17,
a chance to win that game. They were only down 2. He did a fantastic job to get them to the 2-point, only being down 2 points with that
Lewis
time
did.
left. No,
Oh,
I'm talking Rick
Zubiedjifor.
Pitino. Rick Pitino did the excellent job
And
to get him to that
Zubiedjifor.
point, and then he blew it. I don't understand.
How can
it.
you again?
He blew it.
How did he blow it by sitting a guy who was ineffective on
Because
every
he's the
facet of the
best.
game?
He should have kept his faith in him. He should have had him over
His
there.
head wasn't in it.
No,
You
for
could see
2 minutes. For 2 minutes, he should have sat him there, and he should have talked to him and said, "Look, you're our best player. We need you to play. We need you to drive to the hoop. We can get these guys that are in foul trouble. I want you to dish the ball if you don't have the shot. Tell him that. Just tell him that's what you got to do, or are you coming back out? And he didn't. He just let him sit there, and he never spoke to him. I think that was the wrong thing. He did the wrong thing. And I like Rick Pitino a lot. And I think that, I hope R.J. Lewis comes back and plays next year. I think it was a teaching moment and a learning moment for him. It just happened at the wrong time. They should have had something like that when he played lousy back against Villanova in December. Set him down then. That would have made more sense. It didn't cost him a chance to get to the Sweet 16.
Here's what I would disagree with, but I could understand it. Starting Simeon Wilcher. Simeon Wilcher is not the same defender or has the same speed or can maintain on-ball defense like Davon Smith. But I can understand why Simeon Wilcher did start, is because Smith has been dealing with an injury. Aaron Scott, I think, has an issue with his left hand or his shooting hand. I think a torn ligament or a broken bone or something like that.
Yeah,
he couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. He shot 1 of 10, and his only make was a 3.
But his thumb or whatever the problem was didn't bother him in the previous game. He
Correct,
played great.
but that's the thing. Aaron Scott wasn't complaining.
That's the other thing. These guys were too tight. They should have said, look, nobody expected us to be here playing this round. Go out and relax. Have fun. Play the game. Don't worry about it.
Since when
they
does
would have
Rick
played so much
Pitino
better.
say just chill? That's not what
That's
Rick
not
Pitino
him.
does.
That's for sure. And those guys took the tension. They
have all year.
You could tell right from the beginning they weren't right.
Well, no, I think that Arkansas played a beautiful strategy. Play big down low, force them into difficult shots, and guess what? St. John's couldn't compete with it. Early on, Arkansas was out rebounding them, dominating the boards, dominating down low, and we saw Aaron Scott fall asleep on defense to extend it to a 4-point lead at that point.
It's unfortunate.
I think the ball movement sucked
we
as
like
well.
St. John's a lot. We followed them. It's
I
been
go
a
to the
fun
school.
season. It's been a fun season. You go there. You're a senior. It would have been nice to see him get to the Sweet 16. It would have been really exciting. We're disappointed, and it's just tough. It's too bad.
It is tough.
I feel bad for R.J. Lewis. I really do. He took the high road. He said, "Look, it's on me. I played terrible. I hope he comes back because he and Ejiofor, right? They're going to bring another. They need to bring in some guys who can shoot.
Correct.
And they have Wilcher. They only losing 3 guys, so I think that their future is bright, and I'm hoping that they can get back there next year.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.